So for those of you that I haven't met yet, my name is Eric Crump. I'm the Executive Director for the Aerospace Center for Excellence in Lakeland, Florida. That's a lot of words. Basically, you're familiar with the Sun and Fun Aerospace Expo we just had 2 weeks ago. That event is a giant fundraiser that lasts for a week so that I can do my job the other 51 weeks of the year. So the net proceeds that come off of that flying event fund our educational programming and support what we do for students, teachers, outreach, community, and all that throughout the rest of the year, which is pretty awesome. It's the best job in the world. I'm super lucky and blessed to be doing what I'm doing. My wife usually makes fun of me because I wake up about 20 minutes before the alarm goes off every morning. You're such a dweeb. I'm like, I just really like my job. I know it's weird, but I really, really do enjoy what I do. I have given some form of this breakout presentation at this event, at AOPA Symposium a couple of times in the past, and it always gets flavored a little bit based on the really great questions that you guys bring up afterward. I did this originally at Redbird Migration because there were lots of flight schools who were interested in potentially working with local high schools, maybe even doing contract training through college and university partners, and they just didn't understand how credit works. Admittedly, I am not from an academic background, because as you remember this morning, I grew up in Alabama. We only have 2 schools in Alabama. That's not true. We have a farming community in the University of Alabama. That's a whole tide joke for all those of you that, anyway. But, sorry, I take the opportunities I get. It's interesting because when you look at the way credit works, and I'm going to pick on Elizabeth because she sat in front, but specifically, and AOPA had to learn this the hard way, dealing with multiple school districts all over the country, have different ways of looking at credits and what's an elective, what's a core credit, can you do both at the same time or can you not? Just really depends on how that stuff gets done. What we're going to specifically talk about today is how high school students can potentially take what they do in high school into college. That's the whole point, to determine what makes a good relationship and what doesn't. So just to help me out, just again, because I like to know who I'm talking to, where are my K-12 educators? Okay, what about school district people? District level folks, just you again? Sorry. Andrew in the middle this time? Oh, you're going to get all the attention. Okay, and then flight school people, owners, operators, okay, instructors, cool. All right, that helps a lot.
College educator.
And okay, I forgot college, my college people. So college people too. Okay, awesome. Thank you for that. So here's what we're going to try to accomplish in the next 45 minutes-ish, okay? Really more like 30 because I'm really interested in your questions. Should we be pursuing dual enrollment or articulated credit in high school programs? Pros and cons, and if you're interested in this, where would you even start doing it? So again, this is me. If you like what you're hearing, this is what I do. I get to work in this really cool building every day and warm kids up to the idea of aviation and careers in aviation. If you do not like what I have to say today, my name is Charlie Gregoire. I run Redbird Flight Simulation. It's a self-portrait of Charlie from his grade school years. Okay, so before June of 22, I spent 10 years building the Polk State College Aerospace program in Lakeland. So it was a brand new collegiate aviation program, which if you like collegiate aviation, like your dream opportunity is being able to build a college aviation program from scratch. I got to do that, and I'm very lucky to have had that opportunity. When that program started, it was exceedingly small. I was thrilled 9 people showed up the first year. By the time we got into this spring, the program has 3 AS degrees. It was the first public entity in Florida to offer a baccalaureate degree in aviation and has about 278 students enrolled in its aerospace program and about 80 dual enrolled high school students between gen ed courses as well as 4 aerospace program courses that lead to that. Now, that will make a lot more sense when I tell you what I'm associated with now. So in 2008, Central Florida Aerospace Academy began in a rinky-dink hangar on the Sun and Fun Expo campus because we believed that it was important to reach out to young people and get them fired up about aviation. That not only worked, but it also attracted the attention of Mr. James Ray. He then built a school for $8 million as a donation donated the building to Sun Fund, we own it. And then we collect rent from the school district to occupy the building every month, and that rent payment goes into our scholarship fund, which pays for kids to get their private certificate for free while they're in high school. It's a pretty awesome deal. But that was super successful, and that school is full. There aren't any seats in it right now. So we started a second program in Winter Haven. Mr. Bryant, who's over in the corner, is running that program. CFA in Winter Haven began, 3 years ago? 4 years ago as an elective course, and officially became an academy this last school year. Brian is in his own campus now at the Winter Haven Airport, just like this in Lakeland. So right now we're serving just over 600 total students in 6 different CTE tracks. Interestingly, every single one of these leads to an industry certification, at least one in each track. Now in Florida that makes a big deal because those industry certifications are funded to the KPAC, which means that the school district gets money every time a student passes one of those exams, which then goes back in to fund the Workforce Academy program. So really, really big deal. So it's spread out over several different things. The business track is actually brand new. It's just started this last year. And they are finishing their introduction to marketing course right now, and they're going to go into airline and airport management in the next school year, which is actually kind of cool. We're excited to broaden it out. It's not just pilot and maintenance, there's plenty of other jobs in aviation. I tell you that story, I tell you this story. I'm going to put my college professor hat on for just a second. We have to talk about definitions so that we can talk about the rest of the stuff we need to talk about. If we're not using the same definition for the word, then it's not going to be a very effective conversation. So today we only have to define 2 specific things. Let me just break those out real quick. When we're talking about the concept of dual enrollment, these things are generally true of dual enrollment. So first of all, we're talking about a non-admitted, non-degree seeking student enrolled in a college course. Okay, this is someone who does not meet the requirements to be admitted as a student because they haven't graduated high school yet. So they are not admitted, they're non-degree seeking, they have their own special little program code so that they can take one or more specific college courses. The main principal difference between dual enrollment and articulated credit is a student enrolled in a dual enrollment course. You can't do anything about it. They are going to get simultaneous credit in high school and college. However they perform is going on their college transcript forever. Okay, it's a real deal. Also, generally, it depends on the district and the college and a lot of other things, but generally speaking, the tuition and book expenses that would normally be passed on to a student in a college course are not passed on to the student. They're either paid for at a discounted rate by the district, or the college just gives it away, or whatever, but it's not, it does not cost the student, generally speaking, in a dual enrollment situation to participate. And I said this already, this is probably the most important thing to get through to parents. You want your kid to get free college credit, okay, but do you understand that they are getting credit? If they stop turning in assignments halfway through the semester, they are going to fail the class. And then when they do go to college and they apply for financial aid, you're going to have an issue you're going to have to deal with because you're going to have a 0 GPA. So that's an issue, and we have to advise people accordingly. When it comes to articulated credit, this is a much more flexible version of college credit. And generally speaking, what we're saying is that the high school or the technical course that they're enrolled in has some specific course number in the district, may count for college credit, generally at one partner institution who says, I really like the fact that you're teaching private pilot ground school in high school. If that kid passes private pilot ground school and takes their FA knowledge test and passes their FA knowledge test, the college will articulate 3, 4, 5, 27, just kidding, college credits based on obtaining that thing, whatever that is. Sometimes it's just completing a course. Sometimes it is, in fact, earning an FA certification or passing a knowledge test or whatever. But that then will, or not will, may be accepted for some level of college credit. Generally speaking, this is only going to apply to an academic institution that has an agreement with the school district. So if I am in your high school class and I take your ground school class and that transfers to Joe Public University, and I'm really excited about it, then my family decides to move, and now we're at Mary Private University. Mary Private University may not take it, even though Joe Public would. You see what I'm saying? So it just depends on what that is. And generally, it's going to be limited to one or multiple institutions. Like for example, this is a great example just in the state system in Florida. So private pilot ground school in my program is 3 college credits. Take it for 3 college credits. But if you went to hang out with my buddy Sam at Florida State College in Jacksonville, you're going to get 5 credits. So it just depends. If you sometimes an articulation agreement that's based on an FA certification, that could be 3 here, it could be 10 there. It just really depends on what the institution decides that certification is worth based on their catalog. It's not like a willy-nilly thing like, well, I don't really like the way you look, so we're only going to give you 1.5 college credits, which I don't even think is a thing. Anyway, so it depends on credit differences between institutions. The other interesting part is this doesn't count until the student gets admitted to the college. And different colleges deal with this in a different way. So, for example, if you're in the Polk school district, the public school district, and you complete private pilot ground school, that automatically shows up on your transcript the day you are officially admitted to Polk State College because of our agreement with the school district. All right? But in other cases, the student may have to complete 15, 18, 20 college credits at the partner institution before the articulated credit is granted. Sometimes there's we don't want you to just come in here and be like, no, I got my credit, it's on my transcript, so I'm going to go somewhere else. Right? So articulated credit is more flexible, but it also means that districts, parents, universities need to be on the same page about what the deal is. Right? And look at that on a regular basis and make sure it's meeting the needs of all parties who are involved. And again, there's no guarantee that credit is going to transfer. Dual enrollment credit, well, in that case, even something that's on a college transcript won't necessarily transfer if the other college doesn't require that same course in their catalog. Generally speaking, the college is going to look at that and go, well, we'll count it as an elective credit to be nice to you. But they may not count that course for this course because they're not the same. But, well, we don't want to take another 3-credit class. So we'll admit that, we'll take it, but we're just going to count it as a non-degree elective. Okay, I know, I hate definitions, that's why I go through it really fast. Does that make sense to everybody? Are we at least on the same page in terminology? I'm sure a lot of you people already know that, so now we're going to do data. I love data, it's so much fun. Okay, so why would you want to do either thing? Okay, so first of all, research consistently points to the connection between dual enrollment and articulated credit opportunities and college enrollment, retention, and graduation. Like, we know this, it's a thing. Okay, so first of all, this actually just got published in September of 22, but North Carolina did a really interesting CTE audit of all of their CTE programs. Interestingly enough, the dual enrollment students, and it's not a surprise there, were more successful in transitioning to post-secondary education than their peers who did not participate in the dual enrollment program. In fact, 2% were 2% more likely to graduate, but I'll talk about this in a second. That number was 3% in economically disadvantaged groups. Generally speaking, there's a feeling or a gut instinct that, well, dual enrollment is for super rich kids who are smarter, who are going to have better access to. Actually, the data shows that dual enrollment significantly increases the opportunities for underserved kids to be able to go to college and succeed in college. It's actually the exact opposite of what many people think. Also, this same group of kids were 9% more likely to enroll in college, and look at the next number, 11% in economically disadvantaged groups. There was more graduation rate from high school was higher, and also the increase in going to college was there as well. This was really fascinating to me. This dual enrollment program specifically, and we see this in Polk County as well, levels the playing field across socioeconomic groups, gender, ethnicity, everything. So in North Carolina, 9% of the total student population participated in the dual enrollment project. It was 9% of the total enrolled students. But look at the numbers. 10% of the females participated, 8% of the males. 10% white, 8% Hispanic, 8% multiracial, 8% Native American, 7% black. 9% came from non-economically disadvantaged, and 8% came. So the total group was 9. So if I had actually graphed this out, if I had enough space on the slide and showed you a graph, what this just levels the whole line. Everybody had the same opportunity, which, I mean, if I have one goal in education, particularly in aviation education, is to make the same opportunity available to everybody who wants to go after it. And we see over and over again, the dual enrollment programs have a history of doing that. Also, when you look at the articulated credit side, and interestingly, on articulated credit, there is definitely an impact in college enrollment and retention and graduation. But the most important aspect of articulated credit is its transferability, which I just talked about is one of the biggest issues with doing articulated credit agreements. But look at this. Students who matriculate with almost or all of their credit earned, so over 89%, 90% higher of credit earned, they are 2.5 times more likely to graduate from college. I mean, that's a statistically significant number, okay? But even students who only receive between 50 and 89% are still 74% more likely to graduate than students who came in with no articulated credit from high school. So, I mean, do you want that? I mean, I would think so. I mean, I think it does, as educators, I think dual enrollment articulated credit opportunities do what we want. It helps kids pathway themselves into a career. It gives them a plan and a pathway for what happens after high school. It's my favorite question to ask our scholarship applicants. What's coming up after high school? I'm just trying to get through next week. I have a math test. Okay, right, life skills, right? The airplane is just a tool. We're really teaching them to adult. But I think this data suggests that there is a statistically significant correlation between the award of credit in high school and the success of students who go to college. Now, if you had to choose between the two, which one would you want? Ideally, for me, dual enrollment works out better, and this is why. Dual enrollment offers some important advantages over articulated credit from this perspective of the student's need to succeed, if you'll bear the rhyme. They're enrolling in a college class, and if they're correctly advised, they understand from day one, this counts. This is a real deal. We tell our students at Central Florida Aerospace Academy, okay, third period you were in high school, but in fourth period you're in college, and then fifth period you're in high school again. But you have to take it seriously because it is going to count. I think parents typically like it because of its transferability, and also because it's much easier to see on paper, all right, that's 3 credits I saved, that's 6 credits I saved, that's 9 credits. So the parents have an easier opportunity to see ROI in that, and also it gives the students more flexibility. Now, to my college people in the room, I know this is heretical. We don't want them, no, they have to come here. We don't want them to. But at the same time, it does provide the student the opportunity, whether their family's moving, or it also gives them the opportunity to say, well, I like that, but like, so yeah, Polk is convenient because I live 20 minutes from campus, but I want traditional college life. I don't have dorms, I don't have residential life, I don't have intramural athletics. So if you want that traditional college experience, you want to pledge a sorority or a frat, you need to go somewhere that's going to offer you that. But this kind of opportunity gives that student the opportunity to say, okay, I've got college credit, that's cool, that's my foundation, now what do I want to do with it? Okay, just like teaching a pilot applicant how to select an airline. It's not all about the money, folks. Like, where are you based? Can you commute there? Are you going to like commuting there? Do you want a hotbed in Newark, New Jersey? I don't. So, I mean, but it's a lifestyle decision. You have to figure out if that's what you're into. Obviously, there's a catch, though, right? So, the catch is, if you're going to teach a dual enrollment class, now your high school faculty member has to be credentialed by the college or university that's offering the course. Okay, we sort of touched on that this morning as a key issue with transferability of credit. You're going to run into the same issue with articulated credit, though, eventually. An accrediting body is going to look at that and go, oh, you brought 20 credits from high school? that was taught by somebody who is credentialed to teach secondary math. That's not how college works, right? So it was actually us that started that conversation this morning. That is absolutely an issue. How is that going to work? And I'll sort of ruin the punchline for the next slide. But, and again, so college people, this is a nice opportunity to tune out for a minute. It might be a good opportunity for us to start talking about meaningful, realistic online dual enrollment options for high school kids. I don't think that the way we handled remote education in COVID was the right way to do it, but it's not like we had any practice or knew anything. We just like, okay, nobody's going to school anymore. And we just totally made it up as we went. But I hope that we learned some lessons from that. We certainly did. All right, but I can't put that faculty member in every high school. But I can put a lot of high schools in with one remote faculty member. So now think about it like a para system, okay? Where I have a paraeducator who is managing that classroom, keeping them from stabbing each other in the eyeballs with pencils, right? But the course, the instructor of record, is the instructor at the college or university. It may be even a team teaching. We've done that. We've done team teaching where it's sort of both. There are some interesting models to consider here. I'm not going to go into that's a whole separate, that's like a whole conference in and of itself. But that was always the great, that was Voldemort. We didn't speak its name. You cannot do online dual enrollment in high school. It can't be done. But I think it's time to revisit that because we have programs everywhere. We do not have credentialable college faculty members everywhere. And if we did, the colleges would hire them. I mean, the colleges would hire them. So we need to look at different models for that. So if you want to go down the dual enrollment road, there's a couple of things to consider. So first of all, that mutually beneficial relationship with the district is important. I know that sounds kind of obvious, but I was shocked when I first got to Polk County and realized how deeply the CTE division of the school board works with the school board. Normally there would be layers of, bureaucracy. That's the way it works, right? It's levels of bureaucracy between you who teach kids how to have jobs and you, the mighty school board. One person. There's one person between the entire CTE program and the actual school board. And it's the superintendent. And the reason they structured it that way is when Polk first began building career academies in 2008, they realized this immediately. There's way too much bureaucracy. There's way too much of a gap between job skills and people who make policy. Way too much gap. And so they just cut all of that out. So the superintendent of Polk County Public Schools directly manages the workforce education program. I'm not saying that exists other places, but it also shows us that our superintendent believes in workforce education. He also knows what's going on, which is nice. That helps. But that kind of relationship where we can all accept the fact that teaching kids to have successful jobs after high school is a good thing. And we should probably focus on that. It also gives kids these purposeful pathways to college, which we already talked about before. There's my heretical statement about online dual enrollment options. I will also say one of the great things that worked out for us is sharing our advisory board. So generally speaking, any CTE program is going to have some form of industry advisory board, right? Well, the college needed one, the 147 school needed one, the high school needed one. So we just combined them all together. Now our industry advisory board has 65 people on it. It is a gigantic advisory board. And all of those people don't come to Lakeland every quarter to have a meeting. But they all know what's going on, and many of them do participate virtually. But this is how you get the hiring managers for airlines to participate. The recruitment directors for airlines to say, here's a problem we're seeing with our applicant pool. Can you guys fix this? We would love to. Do you have any help? Here's the module. We teach the maintainers about leadership. Okay, cool. We'll teach them that. But that's how that stuff starts. And to the extent that we shared our advisory boards, we realized immediately how much more pathway building we could do if we were all in the same room. If I knew what was being taught down to the lesson plan in the 10th grade Aerospace Technology 2 classroom, I knew what to expect when I got somebody at ASC 1010 at the college level. I knew what they were already going to hear. I knew what the expectations were in the classroom. And then I could say, hey, these guys are coming out and they don't know this. They're really weak on regs. Well, yeah, because kids don't like to learn regulations. It's really boring. Okay, well, so we gamified it. We created a leaderboard with an online quiz, and so the kids get to see who's at the top of the leaderboard. Why don't I go take another quiz so I can get a higher score? Okay, well, I mean, they're competing against each other, but really what's happening is they're learning federal aviation regulations. So that worked out. But again, that synergy is important. And also just talking to the community. I talked about advising and doing this before. We're a big proponent of teacher support. I know Elizabeth and AOPA is as well. I said this morning, but the coolest thing we've ever done to a teacher has been like, all right, here's your aviation class, good luck, and then turn around and just walk out. Like, I don't know what that is. What does that even mean? What am I supposed to do with that? So we believe in helping that. We have our own education conference in Lakeland called Classroom in the Sky every September. AOPA Symposium is fascinating and just one of the best education-related conferences you can go to. I'm not just saying that because Luke's there, so I really do believe it. So if you haven't been to a symposium, you really need to look at that as an option. There's so much support. Was this the first year you guys had done that hands-on lab where you got to go in and do the...
Last year.
Okay, that was really cool. So it's one thing like this where you just sit and get, I'm talking, I talk college, some of you are listening, some of you are just like, I'm waiting for a coffee break, which is fine. I have no problem with that. I lost 50% of you about 15 minutes ago, and that's okay. That's okay. I've been doing this for a while. It's all right. But the cool thing about the Symposium Hands-On Workshop is that you get to do this, but then you also get to actually go put your hands on these activities and practice them with people who do it. Brian, we're in there this last year, right, in Memphis. It's just such a great opportunity not just to hear about it, but to actually get to try it, to practice. I think that's awesome. But these are just some suggestions about communicating with the community. If you want to go down the articulated credit route, again, the most obvious thing to do is to look at industry certifications. And usually when I do this, I hear people say things like, well, but, private's really all they can get when they come out of high school. We typically have between 10 and 15 students who graduate high school with their commercial pilot certificate. So it can absolutely be done. It's just a matter of, are you serious about it? Do you want to pursue it? Is it something that you're behind in terms of funding? This is not it's not free, right? So is there a funding mechanism where you can offset some of these costs? Do you have flight training providers who are at the table who are trying to help you out with preferential pricing? Like there are 2 flight schools in our county that offer a student rate. So if you are enrolled in an academic institution, you don't have to be in one of the aviation high schools or college programs. If you have a student ID, they give you a 15% discount on the airplane. Now, that's not a small amount of money, but it's that incentive that says, here's the thing, they also do half-price discovery flights if you have a student ID. All right, just something, like come to the table. Again, we got to be able to make money, but the reason those schools do that is because little Johnny and little Susie go out and do their flight training, and then mom and dad go, well, I'd kind of like to figure out what that is too. And they end up getting one or more other full-price students out of the deal too. I'm thinking about a family that I saw last week. The son went through the high school program, obtained his commercial certificate. He's a flight instructor now, and he's teaching his little sister how to fly. That's cool. That's great. That's good stuff. That didn't happen overnight, but it can happen. So when we look at FA certification, that's easy because it's a federal standard. It's not like, but no, seriously, I really learned about government economics. Well, did you take a test? It was a final exam. Okay, what was that? Like those trivia questions from the movie Airplane. That's what my government economics class was in high school. We watched Airplane twice. But we learned to balance a checkbook, which was a super useful skill for about 10 years, and then that was not a useful skill anymore. But a federally recognized credential helps when it comes to Other industry certifications, that helps as well. This is just a list at Old State about if you brought these things in, how many college credits you can get. So if you went and got your seaplane rating, that's 1 college credit. I'll give you an elective for that. That's cool. And I also want to talk to you about it. That sounds like it's probably a lot of fun. If you come in your glider pilot, I'll give you an elective credit for that. That's cool. You have something neat. It's going to help you out, but it's also an incentive to get somebody in the door. When I went to college, I had my private pilot certificate. I went to school, and they were like, great, kudos, good on you. You did some extra work. You got your private certificate. That's fantastic. However, that's not going to really work out for us because we want your money. So you have to do an extra certification here so that we can, take your money. And I'm a 3rd generation used car salesman, if you can't tell from the presentation style. But I saw what that was. And so I said, so is that like required though? I mean, like that's a thing, like my degree won't matter if I don't do, well, no, it's just that, we require that every student who comes here obtain 3 certifications while they're here. So you've already done 1, so you're gonna have to do an extra one, which is fine. I was gonna become a flight instructor anyway. It's not like it was, that didn't hurt me. But I get students all the time, got students, don't work there anymore. What? Technically, I teach classes. But anyway, I would get students all the time who would be like, okay, so I'm an airline pilot, and when I went in, nobody cared about a degree, but now it's my time to be chief pilot, and I don't have a degree. So here's all my stuff. And then they get told, well, that's great, it's cool that you got all that stuff, but we don't have a course for ATP and we don't have a course for this, so yes, you have 7,000 flight hours and all this experience and whatever, that's worth 10 college credits. So you only have to do another 110 to get your bachelor's degree though, so it's great for you. The thing is, and I get it, when we're dealing with accreditation issues and dealing with our accrediting bodies, the college people, it's a challenge because I don't want the accrediting body coming in and going, okay, well, you're giving all this credit, it's not effective, and these degrees don't matter, and all of you are fired, right? So it'd be bad. It'd be a bad day for everybody. So I understand the need to protect our accreditations and whatever, but as the collegiate community, it's also a good idea if we're going to do, if we're going to require additional certification, then don't deny credit substitutions, right? So I took, and Embry-Riddle's a great example. So you teach college math for aviation. That's the name of the course, or something like that, right? Okay, so my math department, the transcript evaluator gets that course and goes, that's not a math class. Okay? So then I go to the head of the math department, and I'm like, this is college algebra. They just put aviation in because they're an aeronautical university. I mean, but it's college algebra. They just talk about airplanes instead of stupid word problems. All word problems have airplanes. And so then how do we deal with that? Okay, well, we contact the registrar at Embry-Riddle, and we get the course catalog. Then we get a syllabus, right? What textbook are you? Well, lo and behold, if it isn't the same textbook. Okay, so it's college algebra, right? So then we build a crosswalk with Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University that says if a student took college math for aviation, that is college algebra. All right? So there are ways around these issues. Like, just because I call my course this particular number, you call it something else, we can get through that. That's easy. We just have to try. And if we really care about giving the students portability so they can continue their education, then we find ways to make those kinds of things happen, right? Figure out a way to get creative with another credit. You know, that early romantic literature from Sweden that you took, that's definitely not in my course catalog. And I can't give you credit for this. You just got 3 credits of elective for early romantic literature from Sweden. Congratulations. I mean, there are ways to deal with that so that we're taking care of the kids. And then also you know what? Every time I put this in there, somebody says, well, that seems like you're saying don't create an exclusive arrangement with a college or university. I'm not saying that if you know what that means. But if you are entering into, and I know as an educator, maybe that's not your thing, but for the district people, when you're having these conversations, just because somebody shows up and is like, here, we have this great thing. That's what the evil queen did in Snow White. Look at the apple. But just because somebody showed up and offered you an apple doesn't mean it's the best apple, right? So it's having a conversation about, as a school district, what do we want? What do our students need? And how can we help? And then simply, how do you do it? Not that this is simply, but the short version is develop partners who understand partnership. A good dual enrollment articulated agreement should work both ways. Okay? Particularly if there's money on the table. Okay? What's the college getting? Enrollment. What's the high school getting? Sometimes nothing. Just the opportunity to say, we have college credit. Right? So developing agreements that are actual partnership agreements is important. And that's the thing, and again, not to pick on you guys, but you're in the room, but it's like what you get through GETS, you're not just getting college credit, you're getting academic support, you're getting teacher support, you're getting equipment in some cases. So it's not just a, hey, give us all your students. This is what I accuse the airlines of doing all the time, instructor coaching. But if we have a real agreement, you would know that I still need some instructors to make more instructors. You can't come in and take all of my instructors at the same time. We have to have a deal here where you're flowing a certain number and I can predict that and we can deal with that. But you can't come in and just clean me out because then I can't give you any more pilots. Well, the same deal is true when it comes to dealing with articulated agreements or dual enrollment agreements with colleges. Everybody should have something at the table. And I would say also, to the extent that you're able to link and connect your advisory groups together, not necessarily to share at that point, but at least to have a co-representative, right? Somebody who represents the college or university, who can be a part of your advisory group and hear what your industry partners are saying. And perhaps every once in a while, maybe you get invited to those advisory meetings as well, so you know what's happening at the college level. Keeps everybody on the same page. So that's a lot, but I do want to let you guys ask some questions. Hopefully I answered these questions. Okay, I'm going to shut this off. I would be happy to answer questions. If any of you are mad and want to throw something at me, Elizabeth, you can come up here and stand right here for a second, and then you guys hurl away. It's not meant to be an inflammatory presentation. It's just we all need something out of this deal. Right? As educators, we need to be able to connect our kids to meaningful pathways after they get done in school. Colleges need to know how many kids are coming so they know how to staff, so they know how to plan for expansion. I mean, the more we do this together, do it the right way, we can both take care of each other's problems. That's it. That's all I'm saying. We need to work together, not sort of be in this whole, well, we have, and this is a true story. I talked to a school in Portland, Oregon that has 22 articulation agreements with different institutions. And I was like, what? 22 different colleges and universities? 22 schools. Now, if you're actually supporting all of that, I mean, first of all, how many staff does that take? But what happened? It was like, hey, can we have a direction? Hey, can we have one? Hey, can we have one? Sure. Most of those agreements hadn't been touched in over a decade. Some of them had expired, and they didn't know. Or kids were being like, well, hey, on the website it said I had this agreement, and they're calling the college. The college is like, we have no idea what this high school is. We never heard of you guys before. So it goes both ways. All right, now really am shut up. Questions? Comments? Nice ones, no mean ones. Is it a nice comment?
It is.
Okay.
Kind of play off of your articulated. So we have in our school system, if we have certificated teachers that can do dual enrollment, and we have an agreement with our local community college, we can do that. But we also have statewide dual credit. So we have an agreement with Middle Tennessee State with their introduction to aerospace class, first class at a pro pilot major we take when they get there. We do all the teaching. I'm not in college, I don't have a certification. But at the end of the class, if the student can pass Middle Tennessee State's exam, then they get the credit. So if they don't, they still get the high school credit for passing the class.
Correct.
So that's another option.
but they're not on the hook for, I've now failed a college class.
Right.
That's an interesting workaround. In Florida, we're dealing with SACs, and I don't know exactly how that will work for everybody else. I guess we're their guinea pig. But SACs is just like this year, they just decided that our articulated credit agreements were suspect. And so they are after every single articulated credit agreement that we have. Why do you have it? How are you ensuring that person's getting, academic credentialed faculty to teach what we're not? That's the whole point of doing articulated credit. So the defense is always, well, what's the assessment metric? Like, how are they doing that? And at least in our case, if we have an articulated credit agreement with a school for a class, and so with AOPA curriculum, it's different. So we have a statewide course articulation agreement with the AOPA curriculum. If you take all 4 years of AOPA's high school curriculum, it's worth up to 18 college credits. It's like six different classes. Yeah, ish. Okay, now it's articulated credit. So each district, each college gets to determine, well, but we don't have that class, so you're gonna get 15 here. But it's up to 18, all right? But even if you decided you liked airplanes in your senior year, you only took one class, it's still worth one class, right? So each class you take, you get more credit. SACs haven't fielded it that way. Because and again, that's if you don't know, you don't know. But AOPA high school curriculum is college preparatory. Like the whole point is, just like I'm saying, we should be getting kids ready to go to college. That's getting kids ready to go into an aviation college program. That's the prep point, right? So I know that, and it's just making the defense. And I think the whole beauty of the articulated credit agreement is that it helps you get around some of those dual enrollment issues, particularly if the college or university just cannot get over the idea of online dual enrollment in high schools, which I hear a lot. It's like people look at me and I got 17 heads. It's like, you can't do that. Well, I mean, you can, we do. It seems to work okay. If the kid's properly briefed, the parents understand what it is, and as long as you're managing it, if you're just leaving that kid alone in the library and expecting them to do a college class in their free time, they're going to fail. Absolutely. No doubt about it. 1 out of 10 might pass, right? But if you do it right, it totally works. Yes, sir.
So, to my understanding, right, I might go into articulated credit if, like, an instructor that's running a CTE program doesn't have a master's to run with you. You try to do articulated credit and see if you have some type of credit option for a particular college or community college.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yes. And again, depending on how you want to structure your curriculum. So, as an example, Central Florida Aerospace Academy. You guys are no better than me. I think for the entire UAS track, I think the school district teaches one of those classes, and the rest of it's you guys. They teach an intro to aerospace. No, that's probably you too. So that entire track is just yes. Like it's just that content, right? So there are ways to take on bits and pieces of. It's like the pilot track kids are in the AOPA high school curriculum, but the UAS kids are all taking their credit through Getz at Riddle. So it's just it's a great question, and there's not an easy answer to the question, but generally speaking, yes, the articulated credit agreement, provided the college or university will actually do that, will get you around the instructor credentialing requirement. It depends on the class, the level, the rigor, but dual enrollment is guaranteed credit. Articulated credit is, you might get credit, you might not. It depends on, correct.
Currently, I just started at engineering in 2020. So actually during COVID, it was like, oh yeah, now that's so it's just a pilot focus now. It's more like kind of a pilot track. And so with that in mind, how would I approach, making the articulated agreements? They just go and say, hey, here's what we have. And,
So, how far, you're Gary, Indiana? I mean, you got a lot of really good collegiate aviation programs with like 50 miles you walk. I mean, I think
I'm Indiana, we'll talk.
I mean, the easiest, if you just want to cold call somebody, you call the department chair and you say, I teach at this high school, I want to talk about articulated credit. That's your easiest first, now everybody's got their hands up. Yeah, okay.
Eric, wouldn't it also, because we see this in our high school credit courses that we were talking about, if you're taking a high school credit course and it leads to an industry certification, like through the FAA, a private pilot ground school, most aviation programs, not just Embry-Riddle, but most aviation programs, I think they were mentioning FCCJ, I can't imagine any of them, are not going to automatically give that child college credit when they come in the door with that certification. Regardless if you have an articulation agreement or not, if they have that certification. So that would be one thing. You want to research any colleges or university that have an aviation program to see in their catalog, it'll probably tell you whether they will accept an FAA certification for college credit.
Right, when you're talking about federal credentials, to not accept it, you have to make a case about how you do it different.
Right.
And if the outcome is the same, you're never going to win that fight. Like if the outcome of both courses is the same FAA credential, well, yeah, but we did it in space. Nobody cares. If the outcome of the class is you pass the private pilot knowledge exam, like there's no way around that. That's easy. When we do federal level credentials, we don't have to deal with that. The minutiae you're going to get into is your intro to aerospace, your aviation weather, your rules and regulations, flight planning, navigation, those kinds of things. You're going to have to show you had the same level of rigor that the college course would have had, and also, again, outcome. What's the outcome, and how are you going to measure that they met the same outcome? That's the issue. Yes.
One thing, my program specifically, since we only offer 100 kilogram credits, we're looking at junior college, things that we can get away without the grad because it's junior college.
But that's another. And that's another potential pathway thing, though. It's the same thing of, well, I want to go to this school, but I'm going to go to junior college and get my calculus and get my physics and that done before I transfer to the university. You can do the same thing, but you want to know that your junior college has the agreement with the university that's going to do that. So if you don't have to have an agreement with every major aviation university in the country, right? But if you're working with like 1, 2, 3 junior colleges, whatever, that offer that program, and that 2-year degree is accepted as credit, that's what we did with Embry-Riddle. So I have a baccalaureate degree, but some people want to transfer and have the traditional college experience. So they want a diploma from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. So you can do your associate's degree, get it through commercial multi-instrument, and then take that and go to Daytona and finish the other 2 years and get a baccalaureate degree from Embry-Riddle. Right, but you can stay close to home. You don't have to pay for a dorm. You don't have all the same reasons that people go to junior college before they go to a university anyway. You do the same thing with flight. The issue that you're going to run into there, especially when you go into a flight-related baccalaureate degree program, when all of your flight training got done somewhere else, is that student going to be eligible for restricted ATP? And the answer is probably not, unless the junior college is already approved. That's a whole other conversation. You can do that. That's an option too. You don't have to look at just, well, my closest 4-year institution is 200 miles away. Okay, but is there a junior college that has an aviation program? Because that's a stepping stone to get you to the next spot. We had kids that would come to us from Central Florida Aerospace Academy because their parents wanted to save a little bit of money, and they do 2 years with me, and then they would go and finish at FIT or Embry-Riddle or whatever to do that. So that's a whole other pathway that we didn't really talk about because it's not dual enrollment or articulated credit. It's the junior college pathway, which has been around since the 60s. Just helping people get college and university ready in their local hometown, help them save money and get them into a university program. For those of you that are looking or watching, We're actually 5 minutes over, so if you want to leave, you're more than welcome to leave. But I don't have anything else to do.